Welcome to the Mentally Stable-ish podcast. My name is Bradley Ball. I am joined by
Daniel Taylor,
Josh Ludeman.
Nurad Javedi.
Are you sure, Dan? You had a slight delay there. Like maybe I'm Daniel Taylor, maybe I'm not Daniel Taylor.
And I did that intentionally because in this episode, we talk about my self-identity. And there's a reason why we question that self-identity. I think folks will find out why that triggers me.
He's trying to trigger you.
One of the things I do want to say is I appreciate how open and vulnerable people were in this episode and the things that they shared in this episode. We also shared some tools that we have with being able to combat triggers, be able to find our way through them, and to take control back from the triggers so we aren't constantly finding ourselves in a bad situation.
This conversation about triggers has made me feel triggered.
I was wondering if you were triggered or if you were feeling a little more mentally stable-ish.
Ish.
Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all.
I'm going to bring in the sexy voice. Don't we?
There we go. Bring sexy back. You had to bring the sexy voice down.
Oh,
you
yeah.
need to get it from the pit of your stomach.
Real deep. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That.
That's right.
It's all got to go.
We're thinking about mashed potatoes, a little bit of gravy.
That just feels wrong.
Gravy. Need some gravy.
That's right. That's that sound that we want. We're not going to use any of this. I don't think.
No, we all have children. We've all listened to some Barry White at some point. Got
Absolutely.
That low, deep voice.
Put together a playlist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy. All right. So the subject we got today, we're talking triggers. The way I'm defining this, the way I had it defined for me when I was in therapy as well, is when you look at behavior that you have a hard time controlling, typically there is an event that triggers that. An example for me, I'm ADD, I'm dyslexic. Any of you who have ridden in a car with me and know that I can't lift my right from my tail. So of course, being a kid growing up, you end up in the special reading room. And when you're in the special reading room, other kids that are in your class aren't exactly nice to you about that. When we're little, kids use anything to make fun of another kid. That's not a great thing to have as your standout reputation. So very early on for me, a trigger became intelligence. I felt like I was less than, I felt like I was stupid. And that followed me for a long, long time in my life. Situations that would diminish my intelligence if somebody wasn't listening to me or if they flat out told me I was stupid or I just don't understand. We talked about this a little bit when we were talking about male vulnerability. When the guy races up, stole the parking spot from you, Niraj, and all of a sudden you feel triggered, you feel angry, you feel like you want to be the sheriff. That's a triggering event right there. That's an injustice that has occurred that you go, you've personally wronged me, whether it's taking something from me, something of that nature. Josh just keeps making faces. He's trying to get me to laugh.
Yeah, buddy.
The important thing and what I want you to reflect on is think about your own life. Think about times that you've gotten angry in a way that you haven't anticipated, you haven't expected, and look at that. Because the chances are there has been an event in your life that triggered that. What we're going to end up talking about is identifying a trigger, finding a trigger, but then developing a plan. Because when you get triggered, you can't sit there and go, now is when I develop the plan and I execute the plan. You need to have a plan before you walk in and you get triggered to go, how do I de-escalate myself? How do I calm down? How do I handle this situation?
It's interesting because as a child coming from a family where I was adopted from my father, still had my original mother, but my father adopted me. A very triggering thing to me was people would pick on the fact that I was from a adoptive family. And they would just take that and run with that, even though I still was living with my original mom. And that was extremely triggering to me. When I moved down to Florida from New Hampshire, we lived in the woods in New Hampshire. We're very private, acres, had our own gardens. I still had friends. But at the same time, when I moved down here to Florida at the age of 15, 16, there were folks that would pick on me and call me like country bumpkin and minimize who I was as a person, like pick on the way I dressed, my hairstyle, pick on the different things. For me, that's triggering when I see it happening to me, but when I also see that happening to other people, that is a very triggering event.
So I wanted to dive into that with you just for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
The trigger that you're facing right there.
Yeah.
Was it about your sense of self? Was it because you were adopted? You had maybe your sense of self, your sense of identity, and who you wanted to be? Was it you were triggered by people second guessing you?
Definitely sense of self, sense of identity, because I didn't know who I was. I was still growing. I was young and I thought I knew who I was. But here are these people questioning this individual from the sticks of New Hampshire can't keep up with us, can't do these things. And I grew up, it's interesting you talk about that, Brad, because I grew up reading in the hallway. Because when I was going to school, if you were a little bit slower in learning, they pulled you out and they put you in a hallway and you got an individual who helped you learn reading or math. But that followed me all the way through high school. So yeah, definitely a self-identity type issue, I think, was more triggering, that they were questioning who I was and I was still questioning who I was. Did that answer your question a little bit there, Brad?
When we're kids, it's funny to think about it. We are the star of our own story. When we're growing up, we look at everything very much from our own point of view. Looking at it now, every kid goes, who am I? Why am I here? There's a journey that they go through.
Absolutely.
Josh, I saw you starting to hop in.
I know what my triggers are. I have a plan in place to respond to my triggers. However, I lack the self-control in the moment to grab hold and use said plan.
Amen.
Frankly, that's why I've been quiet through this. And when you asked, do you have something to offer? I said, no, because I'm listening for that nugget from y'all to help me get ahead of it. Because that's what I struggle with.
When you say you lack self-control, one of the things I want to say is, as much as I know what my triggers are, sometimes I get right up to the line and I go, I can back off and I can follow the plan, or fuck it, it's on. Let's go. And sometimes it is appropriate to go, let's go. Obviously, we want to look at the outcome of the situation that we want to get, but there are times that you're sitting there face to face with someone and maybe you've been taken advantage of or you've been taken for granted just one too many times. And there is a point in time when, even in communication, it is effective to be able to go, I need to play the role of the angry person. I get to feel this anger at this point in time. This is justified. Now, a good example of where it's not justified, whenever I call in to a customer call center, I will, as I feel myself getting heated and triggered, and we've all been there, something has gone wrong, I will say, you didn't do this. You didn't cause this. And I'm so sorry. I know I'm angry, but it really frustrates me because of this. 9 out of 10 times, the person that I'm calling in and talking to becomes very helpful because they recognize I see them as a human being. I also recognize they did not go out of their way to screw over Bradley Ball, either on the issue with the Amazon package or with a flight or something else that's going on.
Yeah, I'm pissed, but it's not your fault. They hear from you. You know, I'm pissed, but I also recognize I'm not pissed at you, but I'm going to continue to yell because I'm pissed. But we're having this conversation that I'm not yelling at you, even though I'm yelling at you.
What I find is I won't yell as much.
Oh, okay.
I will emotionally convey myself. I will say, I just get so frustrated. This is terrible. I feel this way. I wish it wasn't like this. But I give them that chance to be able to go, hey, this isn't on you. This is me. This is my experience. This is what I'm feeling.
So it's not, I mean, for me, it's not the person on the other side of the phone. It's like when I get triggered off is when they don't understand, right? I mean, you are frustrated and then they don't understand. I mean, they just keep on asking the stupid questions again and again. Like I told you 100 times, like why do I have to repeat the same thing again and again? And that triggers me out. I mean, when the person does not understand, and that's probably they are not trained in that way. I mean, they don't understand the problem in there, and that's where you get frustrated and you just start triggering it out. I mean, I don't yell, but I just get frustrated. I just hang up the phone. I'll go, can you give me to your supervisor so I can just get away from this? And that's probably my way of doing it.
No, my favorite thing is when you're talking to someone, and I understand it's a tough job because I've done it. But when you're talking to someone and they're telling you what's happened when you've been involved in this situation, like, no, sir, your package made it to here, here, and here. And you're like, no, listen to me. You're not hearing. So it goes back to what you're saying, Naresh. When they don't listen, they have their script in front of them. That's my trigger. That's when I actually start getting a little bit frustrated and yelling.
So let me dive into this a little bit more, because what I'm hearing from both of you, what I'm hearing from each of you is that during that experience where you're talking with the customer service representative, Niraj, when they aren't understanding you and you feel like you're explaining it, you're an intelligent man. I know you. I think you're a hyper intelligent man. The fact that they aren't understanding what you're saying, that's a trigger. And there's probably a root sitting in there somewhere of having to communicate. That's probably a very triggering thing that you've had multiple times in your experience, I would guess. Is that the case?
Probably yes. I mean, the frustration that I sometimes get when you tell them this is exactly Dan's example. I did not receive the package, and they keep on telling you like, oh, it's here, it's here, it's here, but they're not giving you the final thing. Okay, what happened to that pack? Or they don't know the answer, and it's hard for me to accept. Like when they don't accept it up, saying they can just say I don't know the answer. Let me find it out and get back to you, and I'll be fine. I'll just hang up, or I'll be happy to hang up the call. But they just keep on rotating again and again, and that's where like, guys, I'm on the call for 30 minutes and I'm not going to have an answer. Why do I need to be on the call? Just give me to your supervisor. And that's where I would go off.
So it's not so much a communication thing for you. It's a level of respect and feeling human. They're actually responding to you instead of just trying to blow you off.
One other thing that triggers me right now is this stupid voice, like AI voice thing. I mean, you keep on asking them up and it just like, oh, do you need help on this? And then they keep on rotating you up and I have no idea what to do after that. I just can't get it that way.
The first thing I try to do is yell at it. I have a personal technical question. How do I get away from the AI? Sorry, Dan.
No, it's good. And that's why I love having these conversations with y'all. Niraj made me think of another trigger right there when he was speaking. When I know someone is blatantly lying to me, that is so triggering to me. And it sets me off. I try and keep my cool, try and refocus the conversation so that they have the opportunity, that individual has the opportunity to redeem themselves and tell the truth. But man, that is so triggering to me when I know I'm blatantly being lied to.
I can hear your voice escalate just in there. You're clearly thinking of a time this has occurred. Dan's about to Hulk out on camera and we're just going to see this great raw rage monster.
The other thing that triggers me out, I mean, for me, I can't accept the answer as no. I mean, that's something that if somebody keeps on telling me no, I mean, it can be family, my kids or my wife, and I'm like, then I get frustrated. I mean, I don't take it out. I mean, personally, I don't take it out to anybody. I might just get angry and will just sit down or lie down somewhere else or just go out for a walk. But I can't accept the answer. No, I don't know why. I mean, I don't know what triggers that to me. But I think if somebody tells me no, I just get triggered off. I mean, that's my trigger point of it. And just don't know why it happens to you.
Niraj, you just built this big, beautiful house up in New Jersey. And I wish so much that you would sell it and move down to Florida so that when you get upset like this, we could all just go out and walk and have a talk with one another and hang out with you, because I hear that frustration in you.
When you asked me what my triggers were, I actually took it backwards. For me, I don't know how to respond to them. My triggers are similar to you, Niraj, in that people don't understand what I'm saying. When I'm talking through something with people, I connect dots that I don't always vocalize. And Brad and I have had a couple of these. We had an epiphany walking through Disney a couple of weeks ago where we had to retrace a conversation. And then all of a sudden, somehow the dots were connected where I spoke out the dots I was connecting. And we had an, oh, that's what you meant moment. So as much as it is my fault, it still triggers me because I'm like, but this is logical. I definitely get triggered there immensely. That is one I'm getting better at, going, no, that's not what I'm saying. The hard part for me, and I feel like I've been getting better at it, is when that would happen, stop what's going on. No. Backtrack them in the moment, because I feel like if they go too far, I could never get them back. I'm trying to be better now. I catch myself.
I had a question. So, I mean, these were all our personal lives or outside of work. Do you guys get triggered at work? I mean, I do sometimes get triggered. And how do you handle that part of it? I mean, you either on a customer call or talking to your colleagues, and I just hang up. I mean, sometimes I just like keep on myself on mute. I mean, I don't go on videos as you guys are always on videos. So people cannot see the reactions on me or cannot visualize what I'm getting through. But how do you trigger on that part of it?
I don't know, guys. Do you think I've ever been triggered?
No.
Everybody laugh. Hug Brad and laugh. Absolutely, 100% been triggered at work. We just saw that right before this call. There's a particular issue I'm working through. I take it out on you, my friends, as I'm walking through some of these things. And Right now, if I can't get something to work that I know technically I should be able to get this to work, look, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'll admit that out loud, right? But,
Don't
but,
talk bad about
but,
yourself.
Oh
Hold on a
yeah.
second. I'm going to stop you right there for a second, dude. So
yeah,
first off, you and I started working together at Publix way back in the day. And I immediately identified you as somebody that I loved working with. You were so smart. You were so articulate. I wanted you to be somebody that I worked with for the rest of my life. We worked at 3 companies
yeah,
together, and we are now on the same team at Microsoft, which I am incredibly thankful for. So I don't want you to insult yourself. You're one of the smartest people I know. All of the people on this call, I am very happy to say, I would hop into a technical firefight with any of you, and I would say, yeah, let's go. Let's go and do it. And we've all had those difficult customers, those difficult relationships, those difficult situations to even figure out where it's like, I don't know what the hell is going wrong, but we got to figure out something. How do we begin to piece together a plan? I want to hear
yeah.
about your trigger, but I don't want you to self-deprecate yourself, because first off, you don't need to do it. We all know how smart you are, and we
No,
respect you.
thank you. The brain works in funny ways when we self-deprecate, and that goes back to the identity thing at the beginning of the call, Brad. Thank you for calling that out. But what absolutely triggers me is when I know something should be fucking working and I cannot get it to work, and it's the death of me. But I worked all weekend, last weekend, on something. I finally sent to my core team here. I said, I'm a broken individual. Technology has broken me. I'm done for the weekend.
Tech 0.
That was a trigger. Yep, exactly, Josh. To go back to one of your questions, Brad, how do I walk away from a trigger? So I know technology triggers, and we're going to be talking about some of these other things in podcasts like exercise. So what did I do at 2 a.m? I went for a walk around my neighborhood. I needed the outdoors. I needed something. When I'm triggered, I step away, and sometimes you just got to do that.
I'm going to hop in here on this real quick, just because I like that we're talking about what is the plan and how do we execute the plan.
Yeah.
We have very similar backgrounds in what we do every single day, and we absolutely get triggered at work. We get triggered at home. And sometimes the things that trigger us at work trigger us at home, which isn't fair to the people in our home lives. The exercise that my therapist gave me, when you look at this, what's triggering you? And I go, well, I said, I feel attacked because intelligence is one of those triggering points for me. And on top of it, it's technology. I should know technology, even though it's crazy. And I wouldn't expect anybody else in the world to know every single answer to a technology problem. I don't give myself that grace. And if I don't know it, then I have proven that I am stupid and I am worthless. Everybody who laughed at me was absolutely right when I went to the special classroom.
Wow.
That's what it is. And she goes, okay, so the first thing you have to do, you're trying to control the situation, you're losing. Can you give up control? And I went, wow, that's a hard one. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Sometimes I can step away from it. Sometimes I can let somebody else handle it. But there are times where it's on me. I'm the one. If I get triggered with technology, driving my Tesla down the road, I can't stop driving the car and just get out and go for a walk. She said, okay, if you can't give up control, you need to do an exercise where you recognize things are escalating. You need to calm yourself, take deep breaths, do counting. But one of the things we talked about is there's an exercise where you spell out the emotions you're feeling. And if you pretend you see the letters in big, bold letters, it transfers the emotion. The intensity of the emotion you're feeling comes from your caveman limbic brain that's in the middle of our head that has those emotional charged reactions. And it forces it to the front of our brain, to our modern neonatal cortex. That's what handles language processing. So if you spell a word, if you concentrate on the letters, angry, A-N-G-R-Y, you will find if you do that 3-4 times, it's going to change the way your brain is working. It fundamentally changes the process. You will feel yourself de-escalate because it's forcing you to use another component of your brain where the emotion is not located to be able to help de-escalate you. Giving up control, you can still do those exercises, but if you can't give up control, you've got to take some time and you got to pace yourself. But it's recognizing having those steps in place. That's how I begin to go, okay, let's take a deep breath. Nobody's attacking me. And I can calm myself down and I can get back to rational thought. That's the goal of this, is to not be triggered.
So control, deep breath. If I can't give up control, picture it, in this case, angry, spell out angry, and kind of de-escalate the situation within your mind. Awesome. That's an awesome life hack. I love that. I love that a lot. Thank you.
Try reverse numbers. Try from 20 to 1. And that usually, when you are too angry, you would not be able to go 20 to 1. And then you can start de-escalating yourself.
All right. Josh is laughing in the background. We got to let him speak.
I started laughing because Niraj, when you said counting backwards, and it might have been Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Uncle Phil, but 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me? And by the end of the episode, they had turned it into such a joke. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. You're bothering me. It just kind of blew up. Yeah. That was
In that moment, and I think this is the key to it, you got to have the plan, and then it's execute the plan.
Yep.
Because if you don't have the plan before, you're not calm enough to come up with the plan once you're triggered.
Oh, no.
Somebody told me, I don't know, I don't remember who. If you and your wife you fight, right? Something triggered and got that into fight. Don't sleep over it. Just finish off before you go into sleep. Even with your immediate kids or your immediate family, don't sleep over it. If you go to sleep being angry, it's going to keep on going. But if you finish it off that night, talk it out, it would just de-escalate right away.
That's great advice. However, that hasn't worked for me. I need to step away and take the night. There will be times, Missy and I have been married 29 years, and there will be times, and I will just go to the bedroom. We will go to separate corners, as they would say in the boxing ring, and come back the next day and sleep on it because I say some really stupid things when I get mad.
I think one of the key things to understand, you got to find the thing that works for you. I know what works for me to be triggered. You may be sitting there, Dan, going, ANGRY, this is fucking bullshit. I'm angry.
ULLSHIT.
Bread is full of SHIT. One of the things to look at is what does work for you. Exercise, walking. I've had times where I'm so angry or I'm so emotionally hurt or wounded that going for a good walk and thinking through something is really good.
I want folks to know that we use this in real life. I don't know if you remember, Brad, about a year and a half ago, we were having a call and we were being very honest with you. And you told me that sometimes when I stroke my beard, that makes people uncomfortable. And I lost my shit. I don't know if you remember.
I do remember that
and
very
you
well.
And I were okay. And you and I, we ended the call. And I know that call did not end well at all. And what worked for us, and we're good friends. We know we're going to have these things. We love each other like brothers. We're going to fight. And what worked for us is we took that pause, we reflected, and we came back and we found, I was like, man, I realized what I did wrong. There are things that your friends will trigger you. And then when we came back to each other and we said, here's what triggered, let the person know what triggered you and why it triggered you. Give yourself time to reflect on that because you want to know the real reason. I wish I had known about the angry thing because I might have been able to de-escalate myself quicker than what I did on that day.
It was a very sensitive topic. It's also a tense, I can't talk. It's a very sensitive topic and it's attacking your sense of self. When as a friend, somebody's got to say something. I wouldn't want anybody walking around in an embarrassed state, especially if they're a friend and they're someone that I'm concerned with. But I also get how pointing those things out sometimes could be an attack on people's sense of self.
Yeah.
We feeling more mentally stable-ish?
Ish.
Do you feel like we have tools to be able to go for kind of identify triggers and then maybe effectively handle them?
I definitely. 54 years of age, going to be 55. This old dog can learn new tricks, and I learned some new tricks today.
Definitely some new tricks for identifying. Brad, your trick to responding. My problem still is getting to the point of catching myself before I've already responded. For that, I just need more research to find new tools.
Practice, right? Practice makes perfect.
You get lots of practice, but I'm still working.
Niraj?
I know pineapple triggers you up. You need to eat pineapples. That's more.
Pineapple's trash.
That's
There you go. See, that's what happens. I got triggered. Someone said pineapple. I'm over the edge already before I could
spell it out, Josh. Spell it out.
Don't make the dyslexic spell it
out.
I don't even think the dyslexic could say it.
I'm doing LMNOP. That's enough. That spells pineapple.
That's gonna.
It's all weird symbols. All right. I love you all best. Don't tell mom. You're my favorite.
Love you, brother.
Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all.